All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode. Before we get started, we'd like to let you know that the Uncommon Gem podcast is an adult content show, meaning we may go into explicit detail or say some explicit words when talking about today's subjects. We also like to inform you that we're not paid or sponsored by any of the donations or charities in the episode. We simply just are giving it a shout out and hopefully spreading the word on some good causes. Thanks again for tuning in, and let's get on with the show.
What is up? Back again, episode 5 of the Uncommon Gem podcast. We are moving. We're hustling out here. Thank you so much again, folks, for tuning in. Please, by all means, hit us up on Instagram, hit us on Twitter. Let us know what your Uncommon Gems are. We're interested in that too. Things are really looking good here. I'm feeling good about the show. I'm liking the guests we're interviewing. I'm liking the amount of diversity. I'm glad people are taking the Uncommon Gem theme in different ways. Both for like physical material and kind of like mental material, which is really cool. That's the beauty of the show, folks. We never know what their Uncommon Gems are going to be until they bring it on the show. Oh, yeah, folks. This is going to be a thing I think I'm just going to keep doing. I messed up again. Episode 4, Howard was on the show. He currently lives in New York, and I forgot to ask the damn best pizza question every time, folks. This is going to be a thing, I swear. So Howard actually is from Connecticut, so he swears that Connecticut pizza is the pizza spot. Well, let me see. He had texted me his answer. So he had said that Connecticut pizza is the best pizza in his opinion. But he said any dollar slice in New York has always treated me well. So there's that answer for Howard. I promise, folks, I'm going to get better at this New York pizza question. All right, so let's get on with our guest of the show. I'm so honored because this guest actually put in so much effort with this specific podcast in itself. He is a graphic designer. I met this man when I lived in Colorado through hospitality industry. Just honest to God, just a genuine human being and truly works so hard in any craft and anything he is in. And you can check him out right now on lawrencebenally.com. That's his design website. Please hit him up on Instagram as well, Facebook. Check out his work because he does a lot of unique, different designs for different categories, which I think is really cool as an artist. But again, I have to thank him so much for collaborating on the cover art for Uncommon Gem podcast. He did so much good work. So, folks, please welcome today's guest, Lawrence Benally.
Hey, Kev. Thanks for having me on the show.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you so much, and I'm glad you're on here. I know we're going to have a good old story here to tell, so definitely, again, thank you for making this art. Thank you for making this happen. You're such a large part of this process, too.
Not a problem, dude.
So, really quick, Lawrence, just because we have you on the show and you designed the show's cover art, I'm curious if you can kind of tell us more of the mythology that went into that on your end, just because it's very simple to just say, I emailed you, you emailed me, and then it was done. But it wasn't that. It was a lot of interaction between you and I.
Absolutely. So in design school, they teach us that, we're not really selling a design. We're selling ourselves as a designer, that trust and the communication. So when I'm working with you in particular, or any client, it's very important just to kind of understand what this is. What are we doing? What do you need? And from there, on my end, it kind of just starts with research and kind of figuring out what you like, what I like, and just bringing them together. And then from that general ideation, we go into drafting and sketches. I'll show you that, see what you like. We'll take that, take it to the next step, edit, revise, finalize. The whole process, it's kind of a science, and it wasn't as streamlined as how I'm breaking it down to you in the beginning. In the beginning, it was very choppy. I had no idea what I was doing. Probably look at me like, bro, what the fuck is this? This isn't what I want. But that's just where I'm at right now. It's taken a lot of time. It's taken a lot of practice. But yeah, man, there's a lot that goes into it. Yeah. I was looking at the timesheet, and it took about 14 hours to develop everything. And that was just over the course of like maybe 2 weeks, me starting and finishing it with all my other projects and working it in. Yeah.
What I have to say is that what I liked about the way you approached it was in our first initial meeting, you had told me, show you some of my inspirations or visual inspirations, things I like. And I have to say, like, honestly, he incorporated so many details of all those things that I truly liked into the logo, which really makes it feel personal for me. Like, just to see that he really paid attention to some of the finer details and some of those visual things I had provided. And to see that pay off in the work, to see that actually added into the work is really impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, Ben, and it's kind of just, I don't know, maybe like being a tastemaker or just kind of keeping my ear to the streets, just looking at what's cool, man.
Mhm.
So having all that stuff in the back of my head, and then you bring about all this really cool stuff because you have a great taste, and we kind of have similar tastes, and it's really kind of like we're doing like this Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan dance for the kids.
The fusion
And
dance.
that's what the fusion dance. We're trying to do the fusion dance for every design. Oh my God, that's exactly what I had in mind. Oh my God, I didn't know you were gonna do that, but that looks amazing.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, bro. So that's what it's all about, bro.
Super collaborative, yeah.
It's one of those jobs where I kind of get that creative freedom to really do what I want to do. Most of the time I'm doing commercial work or working with small businesses, and I really don't get that creative freedom. They kind of really want, a design that'll put them into a certain box. I'm doing like a bakery. It's got to look like a bakery.
Mhm.
It can't look like anything else. So I do appreciate the opportunity.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
glad that it turned out so great.
Definitely. So let's talk about you for sure, man. So I guess we should talk about how we came across paths, because that's also a very interesting story. We worked at a Latin restaurant. It had just opened, so we were the first set of team members for the specific restaurant, and it was intense. Opening a restaurant's always an intense feeling because there's just so many things going on, and you just feel like your ass is on the line at all times. That was a really cool spot, a really fun cast of characters, and everyone really gelled together really well. I always remember, I think like the first couple days you and I worked together, because the thing about Lawrence is like he always has this like got to do it my way mentality. So I remember him being like, all right, these are my sections, I'm just going to make my money and go. But as time grew, we got to know each other better. We actually helped each other out, and we would set each other up for success at that job too.
Absolutely. I miss Platea. Platea was really cool, man. The tacos were too expensive though, because who's charging $18 for a taco plate? I mean, that's probably why that place.
Just tacos too. No sides, nothing.
And like the smallest side of beans, but it wasn't about the food. It was definitely about the awesome people that we had the opportunity to work with. Yeah, man, you were super cool. All I ever remember is you being a comedian to the tables, cracking jokes, making people laugh. And like you said, I was very, strictly business in and out. I kind of like looked up to you, like in a sense. Damn, I need to be just like that guy. That guy's cracking all the jokes. This is like an opportunity for him. I need to kind of be more like that in my day to day. So you like inspired me, Kev. I'm sure you hear it all the time from other people too, because you got to really put yourself out there. You're doing the podcast right now, so this is great. So yeah, man, super cool place to work at.
Do you remember? I don't know if you were working that day, but do you remember? So at the time, it was when the NBA Finals were going on, and it was Golden State against Cleveland Cavaliers, and this is when the Cavaliers won. Literally, that game was on air while we were working at Platea, and we all did not even take our table's orders. We were watching the game. Even the manager, even the owners were just sitting there watching the game.
I feel so bad for some people who ate at that restaurant, because I'm sure that was not the only night that people were not being served.
It was a very funny scene. So let's definitely talk about how you sort of got into this graphic designing field, because you started going to school not too long ago, correct?
Yeah, I was kind of a late bloomer. Well, I guess I went to college right after high school. I actually got a little lacrosse scholarship, and I went down and played Division II lacrosse right out of high school. I dropped out of college, got in some trouble. Mom's kind of had this conversation with me. She had to sit me down, and she said, hey, Sonny, if you kind of keep fucking up, you're going to maybe go down this path that I don't want my son to go down. So she literally gave me a printout from CCD, Community College of Denver, and said, hey, how about you go ahead and pick out a class, look into it. I really need to get you in school and get your head on straight. So I looked at the classes. I saw some stuff about graphic design, seemed really cool, man, right in my wheelhouse. So I literally just took graphic design 101 one summer and loved it, fell in love with it. And that's really how it all started, man. I also had this desire to not wait tables for the rest of my life, bro. That
Yeah.
shit sucks. Nobody wants to do that. And sure, like the money's great, not as great as it used to be because we're going through the COVID thing. And that's really pushing me to go full-time freelance just because the money isn't really there anymore. But me fucking up mother's love and not wanting to wait tables for the rest of my life, that's really what's gotten me to where I am right now.
I respect it. You know, I feel that's a story that so many people can relate to because that's just the common person's like lifestyle. You know, they work at a certain industry job just to make ends meet, but meanwhile, their dreams, they got to pursue them. So I'm glad, you know, you found the thing that really stuck to you and it's working, man. Because as you said, we're in pandemic times, but every time I look in your Instagram, every time I look at your stories, you're working on the next project, you're doing something new, unique. It's all moving together rather fast for you.
Yeah, it is. I haven't actually really been able to enjoy it really because I just stay on the grind. And I had spoke on it a little bit before. You know, I was really, really, really fucking up. So when that happens for so long, you really just want to turn things around. And when you find that one thing, you really have to find your gift, develop it, and sell out to, you know, kind of just do what God intended. So that's where I'm at, man. I appreciate it. Things are going fast, and it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Just as much as, you know, I was an inspiration for you, you're an inspiration for me, man. Just working to hone your craft and really get there. You know?
Absolutely, life is quick. Life goes by quick.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll definitely talk about this more, considering what your uncommon gem is. So, as always, folks, every episode we take time to talk about a donation and charity service that the guest brings to our attention. So today, Lawrence was gracious enough to bring one. Lawrence, you mind telling us about what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, Feeding Colorado. If you grew up in Colorado, you know all about it. It's the food bank network that pretty much feeds and helps out families, raises food awareness for the state. We all grew up donating canned goods to King Supers or for our schools, for the Food Bank of the Rockies. Well, this is the network that kind of helps deliver that to all those needy families. So that's what I wanted to focus on. I thought about doing something design related like AIGA, but come on, man, if we can't get these kids food, a basic necessity first, we got to do that before we even focus on design or anything like that. What is it? Maslow's hierarchies of needs. Food and shelter is the first one. You know, fuck design. Let's get some food in these kids' stomachs. Absolutely.
Everybody deserves food. That's what keeps us all going. That's our literal life source. Food and water. Like, we're all humans, so everyone knows what it feels like to be hungry. And I can only imagine what these people are going through out there. Barely making the food.
I had seen a report, I think it was out of Fort Worth or Dallas, this past Thanksgiving. I don't know if you saw the report with the cars lining up to pick up Thanksgiving dinner. Oh my God, that's terrible. Yeah. That is terrible, man. It seems like it's worse than ever. We've got this crazy crisis in Denver right now with the homeless too. I'm sure Feeding Colorado helps those guys get fed, but it's real in the streets right now, man. It's crazy.
100%. Yeah. And in the last episode, we had mentioned New York's homelessness, but in Colorado, it's really sad because the government is constantly kind of pushing these people into really shitty positions. Like, they can't even exist, essentially. And it's a terrible thing, but I am glad that we're bringing this attention to this company because, as you said, there's 5 major food banks that are just truly dedicated to bringing hot meals or meals in general to these people. They literally just allow you to walk in through their doors, set up the service, and then they'll get you what you need. And they also do hand out food at certain stations as well.
Yes. So keeping those banks full is definitely a priority. I was watching a Vice report, man, and they followed a family walking into a food bank, and the food bank didn't have food. I mean, if the food bank doesn't have food, what does that say about our communities? So let's help out Feeding Colorado or your local food bank. Do what you can to make sure the food banks are full and that some of these communities aren't left in those situations.
100%. 100%. I was looking at their website, and on top of like donating, you can also volunteer. It looks like they actually hire people and pay you. So that's a thing that's not normally normal for most donation services. But the fact that you can actually like be paid to work with these companies is pretty cool to me. We should mention it's a non-for-profit, meaning all the money will go to these causes. All the money will go rather to buying the food more so than the corporation itself. Just as you said, like, it's very much focused on families because it's not so much that it's just homeless people. There's just so many people that are barely paying rent, therefore they can't afford to go out and buy food. So it's working with a lot of families, making sure they also can feed their kids, feed each other, which to me just means a lot.
And they got a cool logo, so I can always get behind a good designed logo. So
shout out to the graphics design. Right on, folks. So you can go to feedingcolorado.org to check it out. As always, we'll put the link in the bio. We'll put it Instagram bio too, so you can just click on that. And definitely do some research. Definitely check it out. But also, if you're walking around the street and you happen to see a homeless person, just check in with them. See if you can help out in any way, shape, or form. You don't always have to give out money, but you can definitely point them to this service. Tell them about this service. That way they know, hey, I can get food here, or hey, I know several other people that might need this help. The word spreading goes a long, long way, folks. Long way. Thank you again for bringing that to our attention, Lawrence. Now we get on to the best part of the show, the uncommon gem. Lawrence, do you mind telling us what your uncommon gem is?
Yes, my uncommon gem is failure. And I think that's definitely helped me as a graphic designer. Absolutely.
Failure, I mean, everyone fails. Everyone has known the feeling of failure. Everyone has come across it in so many different ways and so many different styles. So it's such a casual thing, but you have rather, because I know you personally, so I know your arc is very redemptive, because I'll be honest, you've been dealt a bad hand in so many different ways, but to see where you are now, I know, folks, it's just simple fact. You have to fail to succeed, and Lawrence has really succeeded. That's all I have to say. He really has made something from nothing, and to be where he's at, I think this is going to be a fun story for people to know about you. So what do you uphold to your failures? What has that brought to your life?
Oh man. So when you learn how to do everything the wrong way first, it's real easy to do everything right. When we first met, I don't know if you remember or not, but I actually had, I'm not proud to say it, but I had an ankle monitor on my ankle. I got in trouble for some things. I got caught up on probation. I had to deal with a lot of obstacles. And if anybody out there has been through the court system, you know how it goes. And it's hard to bounce back. A lot of people struggle bouncing back from failures, especially people who maybe have never dealt with something like that before. So for instance, with me being on probation, I fuck up, do something bad, and then I face the consequences. And that's bad enough. So with that, there's also UAs. You have to call somewhere every single morning. You have to deal with court fees. You have to deal with this, that, the other, and it all kind of piles on. And it can kind of make a person wants to maybe cope or fall back on some negative activity. And it's this really bad cycle. And you really have to just kind of pull yourself out of it. So overcoming something like that, living your life or putting your life into expert mode when maybe you don't have to, be on expert or hard. It can be easy, but you made it really hard on yourself. Mm-hmm. So when you kind of live life like that for a while, the way that you assess risk and the way that you put yourself out there, it's completely different. Yeah. It takes courage. It takes courage to bounce back from something like that. It's hard to push yourself to go on. And that's just with the probation thing. There's all sorts of other things that I've been through, but I just like that example in particular.
Yeah, because I mean, not only, like you said, you do make it hard for yourself, but that specific one, it puts so many limitations just on your life in general, because now you have to go about looking for jobs, different craft work, all that stuff. Like, I'm sure there's many challenges that you never would have expected that came with it that now just are constantly popping up.
Exactly. So you take that experience, and then you kind of have to readjust your life. You have to reevaluate, and you have to really figure out what's important to you. And I kind of did that. I found what was important to me. I found a gift, and I developed it. It's hard for a lot of people to do that. It's hard to step into your fears, really.
Yes.
Yeah, man. And that's kind of like what graphic design has given me.
So Lawrence, I'm curious, as we mentioned, it's a common thing for people, and you have a very interesting story of failure. But what about it appeals to you so much?
It kind of just feels like a superpower. In my design courses, I see kids get up in front of class and they're kind of afraid to fail. You can't let that happen. You have to own it. You have to go for it. Step into those fears. Really just do it. That's why I love it. I failed so many times that I don't mind doing it again. I really don't.
As a graphic designer, I know you want to get the design right, you want to get the picture right for whoever it may be, but just based on your like past experience of failures, obviously you're not going to try to go down the failure route again. But how often do you feel that even making mistakes, or even in the graphic design world, do you feel failure kind of sets you up? I feel like during our design process too, like you'll see like certain moments where you're like, maybe I can make that a bit better, and you definitely fix it up too. So
I mean, just speaking on the artwork that I did for the podcast, I fucked up at the beginning. I spelled the name wrong.
folks always thought, it's very funny that a lot of folks thought we were just gonna be Uncut Gems. Every episode was gonna be talk about Adam Sandler's movie Uncut Gems.
I thought it was Uncut Gems, and that's a little mistake or a little failure right there. Maybe somebody who's just getting into graphic design makes that mistake, and in their head they're just like, oh no, this is the worst mistake ever. I put in 4 hours into those sketches and into those drafts, and now that time is gone, and it's a big deal. As designers, we value time. A little thing like that can really fuck with you. But hey, for me, it's not a big deal. We'll keep it moving, and I get back to you professionally. My bad about that. Let's act like that didn't happen. I'm not gonna bill you for that time, and let's get this right.
That's the kind of beauty of it, that owning it. To me, it's better to own it than to just act like it was nothing and push it off to the side. Because owning your failures means you accept the mistake, and you're willing to learn from it. How does that like play into the learning part of it?
Fail upwards. Teach your kids to fail. Teach them that it's okay, and that it's not going to be so bad, and it's not the end of the world. I think some people who never really actually go through that, they're going to have a tough time, because real life, it's not all foam walls. It's sharp corners.
Yeah.
There's spikes everywhere.
For me, like, I know it's easy to look at other people's mistakes and try to learn from that. But doing it on your own, like actually failing on your own, really does put it in perspective, because it's potential times that you could lose something you can never gain back. And what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and think about, man, I fucked it up, I'll never get that opportunity again. Or are you going to try something new? You're going to try and get back at it, like you're never going to know till you try, right?
Absolutely. And, just to speak on that a little, I've lost faith from close family members. I've lost friends. I've lost time. And when those things happen, nothing's quite as bad. 100 days in jail. Nothing's quite as bad as maybe your mom not talking to you for a year. Maybe your friends not fucking with you. Nothing is that bad. And I think that's definitely helped me with with graphic design. One of my first few jobs was actually with an aerospace company, and I didn't really feel too qualified for it, but what's the worst that could happen? This is an opportunity. It's not
right.
100 days in jail. It's just an interview, and it's just talking to some people. Let's try to not get in my head too much. When you fucked up a few times, nothing is that bad. Nothing is that fuck up. Yeah. It's just graphic design over here. So I think if you have that mentality, anything is possible.
I want to ask you this. So, as you mentioned, you've done the aerospace thing. You've done my podcast cover art, but you also have designed books. You design bakery logos. It's all over the board with you. So, with that, does failure, like the amount of times you failed, are you just like, you know what, I might as well take as many shots as I can take with different people just to collaborate and get my name out there? Is that like a feeling you have?
Absolutely. And I think I got it from that aerospace gig. Yeah, dude, that's so crazy. You just totally connected a dot for me right there. And now I kind of have to, digest on it, because, yeah, I guess my entire career so far is kind of on this whole mantra idea, like, fuck it, what do I have to lose? Just go for it.
Right.
Like, even with this podcast, I'm sure you ask people all the time, hey, do you want to be on this podcast? And a lot of people doubt themselves. Like, I'm not too sure. Like, shut up, get over yourself. Come on, get on the podcast, Let's just talk about your thing.
I think a lot of people have shame in being vulnerable, which I can't judge them. They were raised differently, they were taught differently, but I think being vulnerable, owning up to that, and for example, like you, just coming on the show and just to be willing to talk about your failures, not only does it like lift weight off your shoulders, but it gets yourself out there. It really puts yourself on the market. It really puts yourself, I'm Lawrence, I'm Kevin, like we're here and we're going to keep going no matter our mistakes, no matter where we are.
Absolutely. And, it's hard for me to fuck with people like that, man. People who are just on the fence, maybe haven't come into their full form yet. I'm all down to enlighten and help, but like, come on, man, just go for it. It's not that bad.
You'll never know till you take the risk. As an improv comedian, my teacher always said, Zach Willis, he said, hey, you're not going to die on stage unless you fictionally die on stage. That's a different story, but you're literally not going to die. And I know that's like, a different kind of example, but it really stuck with me because I'm just like, what? Yeah, I'm not going to die. Sure, well, I get nervous. Sure, it might be, off-putting. But I'm assuming it's the same thing, like taking a step with someone you've never worked with before, or collaborating with someone you might have never met in person too, but to take that risk, to jump out there and say you did it. And more often than not, the work pays off and it looks dope.
And even with my clients, they're taking a risk. Mm-hmm. If you run into me on Instagram, you're taking a risk because I need $150 for the retainer. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just going to send some guy on Instagram $150 to do what you hope will be, great work. So I appreciate that risk. And that's all part of doing business. And,
yeah.
I've learned that business stuff too with doing the graphic design stuff. It's all one awesome ecosystem.
So as we had mentioned before, you definitely had some troubles finding places of work, finding places that would accept you just because of your history and past. But it also led you to starting your own business, starting your own graphic design. How's that affected you?
Yeah, man. So I can't drive a truck. I got a DUI. I can't get a job at a bank. There's all sorts of shit that I can't do. And that's part of the reason why I chose graphic design. When I was choosing a career to get into, it was kind of like, all right, which one can I get into? And graphic design kind of seemed like the natural option. And when it's hard to get a job, and even when I got certified, it was hard for me to get a job. So when you have those obstacles in your way and those challenges, and there's like literally no other option but to design, you really have to step into it and you just have to go for it. And I really think that if more people had that mentality, man, the human race would be great.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people who either have undeveloped or underdeveloped skills, or just don't really know what they want to do. And if they could spend more time figuring out what that is or nurturing that, this would be a way better society and everybody would be doing what they wanted.
Right. These ideas, you just have to sit with them, find what you truly love, sit with them, and it'll come to you. The creativity will come to you. Sure, this is why I'm loving that we're talking about failure. Sure, the first couple times may seem whack. Sure, the first couple times may not seem like you did it right, but you're never going to learn till you experiment with it, play with it a little. So find that thing that you love and really see if it's about what you want to be about.
Yeah, even if you're not too sure about it, still do it. Like, what do you have to lose? Mm-hmm. We're doing this podcast right now. We don't know where it's gonna go, but hey, fuck it. Like, it's the thing to do.
Exactly, and we're getting these stories out here for people, hopefully, that need to hear them. So obviously we can talk about personal examples, but are there certain examples of failure that you use in your life to kind of get you going, or kind of always use as like an example or a base point, just for you in general?
Oh yeah, I actually think about that Michael Jordan commercial when, I don't know if you've seen it, when he's like, yo, I missed all these shots. Yo, I didn't make the basketball team, this, and this. I think about that, man. Mm-hmm. And I also think about, I don't know if you know the motivational speaker, Les Brown. He's really cool, and he really helps me out. And I guess maybe I like to watch a lot of documentaries about musicians or other artists and what they've gone through.
Yeah.
Just from those documentaries or just seeing those artists be at the bottom and come back. Those are the stories that I really like.
Yeah. So
I guess it's appropriate. It's only appropriate. That's kind of the life that I live.
Definitely. There are a lot of underdogs out there, and to hear them make it, especially for us colored folk, we've always been put in a place of lesser than, or it's harder for some of us to come up. So to see a lot of these people succeed and make it the way they did, it took a lot of their personal life, but at the same time they actually did it. I think that's truly something we should uphold for just doing that.
Oh, yo, I gotta shout out my parents, man. You said all those nice things, and I thought about my parents. So a little something about me. My dad, he's Black. He's from Mississippi, a very small town in Mississippi called Como. I'm pretty sure it used to be like an old plantation, because my great-grandma jokes about Tuesdays being cotton picking day. That was like one of the first things she ever said to me when I met her. She said, Sonny, what's today? I said, Tuesday. She said, cotton picking day. And I was like, wow. Whoa, that's crazy. I was like 13 years old when she said that. And then my mom's, she's from the Navajo Nation, straight from a reservation, no options. It's practically a third world country out there, no electricity, plumbing type shit. And to see them come back or come out of nothing, join the military, do their like 20-year, 25-year stint in the Army each, come out of that, do some government stuff, and set up a good situation for me and my sister, man. Like, it's not like they're coming from failure, but coming from failed communities is definitely a big deal. And I keep that, that definitely motivates me. Being Black Indian, come on, I mean, from my mom's side, they've been told that America don't care about you. Here's your piece of land, do what you want. And then from my dad's side, it's all right, we brought you here from Africa to pick some cotton. She's still talking about it. We gonna leave you here with limited resources and for y'all to figure it out. My parents, definitely another example of people who I guess come from failed regions in this great country, you know, to make something successful. So I definitely have to do justice for them.
Yeah, 100%. I can feel that. Yeah, vindicate, you know, your ancestors, vindicate your family. It's all you have at the end of the day, and to keep that bloodline going, especially do what you want to do and succeed at it. That's something to uphold. It really is.
Yeah, because I don't think there's, in my family at least, I'm not too sure if there's anybody else who like runs a small business like what I'm doing. There aren't too many people who've been to college. There's a few, but not many. I'm one of them. I feel like I'm doing it, and I'm able to, you know, kind of put the family on the map. Using my name too, you know, my name is, it's out there. I got the .com. That's like the most valuable thing to me. It's my name.
That's the thing, man. Like, failure is such an important thing that I feel like no one talks about enough. Because to own up to your failures sucks, because that means like you admit that you some point lost, and no one wants to lose. Everyone wants to win.
Yes, dude, absolutely.
You gotta lose to win. You really do have to lose to win. I don't know, folks. If I may be honest, you know, we live in a day and age where so many people are going through so much. So many people their truths are devalued. Their lives are diminished just because of history from other like perspectives and whatnot. So get your story out there, I think, is important, because everyone lives such a different life, and everyone can have it made at the beginning, and then one failure can set them down a path of just absolute darkness. It happens so often in life. One thing I have to say, like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about how I met Lawrence, he was very about his business, very focused and stuff like that. And one thing that's been fun seeing him evolve into, especially into his graphic design business, is I feel that he's taken that focus, but I can bet that the failures added patience onto that focus, because the amount of detail and processing he does for all of his work really shows. And the fact that he's not like willing to rush a project, the fact that he like lets you know, hey, I want to sit with this for about a week or two to really like get there. I think that really is important, especially for a graphic artist.
And that's something that people should know too, when you're working with an artist or a graphic designer. Me in particular, I definitely like to work a little bit on something and then come back to it and see how it looks a few days later, maybe a week later. That's how I work. Other artists, they'll sit down and they'll just bang it out. They'll just sit there for that entire 14 hours at their desk, and they won't move, and they'll have a single piece. But that patience, man, I'm not too sure if I can tell you where that patience comes from. Maybe it could be all the failures. I'm sure it is. I'm not too sure which one to pinpoint and say what it is. But it just feels better, you know, to have time with something. And I think that's just a human thing.
Especially now in a pandemic, I think we all realize that we do need to spend more time, not so much just working, but focusing on ourselves, focusing more so on things that we do want to enjoy and actually put time to. I can imagine, yeah, that puts a lot into perspective.
With that too, we're also in a society where everybody wants things quickly. It happens quite often when people hit me up saying, "Yo, can you have this done by tomorrow or in a couple of days? And can you do it for this much?" And I'm like, "Yo, bro, I can't do that. This is a logo for a jewelry business. You're asking me to do it overnight. This is a luxury brand. You should put some more time into your luxury brand and the artwork and all of this stuff, man. You got to hire somebody to spend some time with it." And some people don't understand that.
Things don't happen overnight. And the things that do happen overnight, sometimes I feel like they're not meant to be long-lived. So to put that time and effort into the craft, I think you're willing to put in more chips to the longevity of whatever it may be.
You know, and especially if it's somebody's business, we should be doing that. It's going to be making you money. I'm excited for this, when it all works out, but we just got to give it some time to work.
So Lawrence, I want to ask, because you're a really smart man and you read a lot of books, you incorporate a lot of like smart individual versed people into your life. Is there something you could recommend for certain people like going through it, maybe that you were in a rut that got you out of that rut?
Oh man, so there's this really cool book. It's called like Outwitting the Devil, and it's kind of all about one guy and he's meeting the devil, and he's got all of these questions for the devil. He wants to know the tricks that the devil plays on people. He wants to know what the devil does to really make people fuck up. And they really get into it. And that's what the whole book is about. I think that if you're really fucking up, if you find yourself in a rut, that book really like kind of saved my life. And as far as music goes, man, I love hip hop. I think the whole story of hip hop is rags to riches, diamonds in the rough. I think that's the story of hip hop. So you got to listen to that. You got to read that book. And then you definitely need a support system.
Yeah.
You might need some therapy, all those things.
Yeah.
All those things can definitely help if you're dealing with failure, if you don't know how to bounce back. That's what helped me.
Yeah, definitely. I want to stress, maybe you can speak on this. So there's that, as a writer, there's that saying, sometimes you have to kill your darlings, where you might think this is like the funniest idea ever, but for an audience is not really going to play out so well. So it might be best to scrap that idea in general. How often do you kill your darlings, or how often does that method pop up in your life?
All the time, bro. I heard somewhere that, what do they say? All ideas are good or all ideas are bad until you really, really, really find the good one. So there's no problem with that. And plus, we live in such a quick culture, things come and go. So that's completely fine, man. And then it's also cool to go back and look at those things that you've killed and see if they're still relevant. Maybe you can bring them back to life and use them later. In my design work, I come up with all sorts of drafts and I had to kill. it sucks, It's like hours of work. This one doesn't work. This one doesn't work. This one doesn't work. All right, does this one work? All right, we'll keep this one. And then a week later, you end up killing that one for a better design. So it's all part of the process.
Mm-hmm. I like quotes. I like inspirational stuff. I'm sure you do as well. One thing that always like stuck out to me was The Tale of Two Wolves. It's a Native American, essentially a short story, but I'll read it real quick for the audience. One evening, an elderly Cherokee brave told his grandson about a battle that goes inside people. He said, "My son, battle is between two wolves inside us all. One is evil. It is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf wins?" The old Cherokee simply replied, "The one that you feed." So, all that to say, it's true. It's always the battle of what do you put more energy into, and how is that energy also perceived? Do you put more negative energy into a certain thing? Do you put more positive energy into a certain thing? And failure, I feel, is just, one of those things that is the process of that,
I fed the bad wolf for so long, bro.
Mm.
I didn't mind being the bad guy for a while there in my early 20s. And then you learn some shit. You learn some dope shit. You start navigating differently. Maybe you lose some important people in your life that kind of help you reevaluate. And then you start feeding the good one.
Mm-hmm.
And that bitch gets so big, bro, that, the bad wolf, it can't do anything. It can't fuck with the good wolf, man. Yeah. And that's how I feel, man. I feel like my good wolf is so big, so well fed, it'll fuck up any negative wolves that want to come in its area.
I love that, man.
I love that story. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, who can't relate? And I gotta say, man, even when I knew you back then, I knew you were going through stuff, and obviously, like, we all are there for each other at that job, but I knew you were going through stuff. To see this man who very clearly was going through some things still come in with a positive attitude, still come in with an upbeat attitude, you have to honor that, you have to respect that, because that's what it takes, folks, to make it through. You have to be yourself, you have to be one with yourself, and really, like, feed on what keeps you going, feed on what keeps you happy. kind of going off of that quote of failure, there's another quote of failure by Stephen Colbert that I think we all can relate to. And it says, "What do you get from loss? You get the awareness of other people's loss, which allows you to love more deeply and to understand what it's like to be a human being." Which, I mean, I feel like if you paid attention to anything that's been going on in the past year, that just rings all the bells, right?
Just speaking on 2020 as a whole, we all had to overcome something.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I'm sure we all lost things. I actually lost family members from
Same.
COVID. And that actually triggered a huge evolution in who I am as a man. So yeah, man, this Stephen Colbert quote it's amazing. It does justice.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, maybe a lot of people don't know. I'm a big comedy nerd, so of course I do know. But Stephen Colbert actually lost his father and a couple of brothers. He's like from a big family, but they all died in some tragic plane accident. So he has like a lot more brothers and sisters on top of that. But to still lose family members like that, you know, he definitely could speak to the loss. But as Lawrence is saying, so many people have lost so much, and our condolences, honestly. Like losing someone, to me, in the past 4 years since I moved to New York, I've lost almost 15 family members. So that you start to reflect on how they interacted in your life, but you also reflect on their values, you reflect on what they try to uphold. So I think that's important to honor those that you have in your life now and try and learn as much as you can from them.
I agree. I'm 28 years old, and it's been super crazy because I haven't actually lost anybody close to me. It wasn't until 2020 when, you know, shit really hit the fan and I had to experience those kinds of losses.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes how you perceive things. Even speaking on kids that I grew up with, I know kids who lost parents while I was in high school, you know, going to school with them, and I saw that happen. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of goes one of either two ways. You know, the kid can be down and out, and we can see how that goes out, or the kid can kind of understand how precious things truly are and understand the value of time, this, that, and the other. And then we can see how that pans out. And I've seen it a few times in people that I know. They really take advantage of this life.
Yeah. I want to say too, I know I said it a little bit, but how we should definitely value people's lives, but just think of it this way. If you truly don't connect with your family members, your friends on that level, on that deep level, you are missing out on so much to connect with other people. And that's why I highly recommend others to talk with other people they may not feel so much comfortable with. I know it's a shame that we live in such a society, but I know a lot of people that look down on the transgender community, that look down on Black people, that look down on Asian people. But truly, honestly, if you sit down and talk with one of them, you may get a better understanding of not just like their lifestyle and what they've been through, but why they are the person they are in their community.
Yeah, those people just aren't educated. You know, I'm taking an interpersonal communication course right now, actually. And what we learn about is not judging people from just a single story. Typically, people look at a group, maybe transgenders or Blacks, or the other examples that you just made, with a single story. You know, Black people just want to be ghetto. Transgenders, you know, just pick a gender, be what you're supposed to be, you know, that kind of stuff. There's so much more to these groups. There are different identities. And if you actually don't believe that stereotype or that single story, and you get to know these people, you're going to learn that you have so many similarities.
Exactly.
You know, it's crazy. I was watching this little film, and it was 4 people. There was a Mexican, a white, a Black, Asian, and they pretty much all end up shooting each other in a gas station. It goes down, it gets super crazy, like a Tarantino film. But when they all die, the point is they all bleed the same blood, and they all kind of come together and go down the drain. Yeah, so, you know, don't be an asshole, you know, just believing a single narrative. There's so much more to people, and don't look down, especially because you don't know what they're going through. Everybody has a different story.
Right. I like that you said that they're just not educated, because, you know, you and I, we went to school in Colorado. We know the education system, what they give to people. To truth be told, I didn't really know that Thanksgiving was that bad, because I was just taught it was just a holiday where everyone gets together and eats. Nope. A lot of Native Americans, a lot of people got murdered, and it was a terrible, terrible event.
Yo, that's a flaw of this country, but that's a flaw of humanity too.
Yeah.
What do they say that we do? We tell the stories
That they want to hear.
for that they want to hear, and we don't start from the beginning. It's kind of like, let's
Right in the
ignore
middle.
that and let's start, secondly. Let's not start with America being home of American Indians.
Yeah.
Let's start it with being, Christopher Columbus coming and discovering it. Let's tell that story. We don't
Exactly.
we don't even know shit. We don't want to know about the shit that happened before that. We don't care. Start with Christopher. Shit's crazy.
Man, yeah. So educate yourselves, folks. If you truly are curious about something, you have a computer in your pockets. If you're listening to this podcast, that means you have the needs to do research. So I highly recommend, there's so many ways to go about it, but don't just Wikipedia things, folks. Like, actually commit an hour of a week to researching something you normally wouldn't, or read something you normally wouldn't.
And try to talk to those people too.
Yeah.
Get to know them and be vulnerable. Put yourself in that position.
So Lawrence, any last words you want to give to people about failure? Maybe any advice you want to give them?
Yeah, man, just don't give up and keep working on yourself. There's only 24 hours in a day where we only use like 12 of the hours, and then we bullshit half that time. So be deliberate in what you do. If you say that you're going to do something that you really want to do, if you want to make music, stop fucking off, make some music. If you want to be an artist, if you want to do some paintings, stop fucking around on Netflix, get your ass up and go paint something. Don't be afraid to try something. Just go for it. If you're going through some shit, if you're on probation, if you're in a bad negative spiral, drinking, smoking, doing bad things, seek some help. Talk to your family, find some close friends. Really find something worth living for. Yeah, man. And then use those failures as fuel. It's really cool. And you'll really be surprised at what you can do. Check out my website, lawrencebenally.com. Follow me on Instagram at lawrencebenally _. Support your boy, support other artists, listen to this podcast.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, man. Set some goals, achieve goals, set more goals, and keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yeah. Get a planner. You'd be surprised how much just writing down things into a planner helps out. Because then you're really going to commit to it. I promise you. At first, I thought it was bullshit that I was writing in a planner, but then all of a sudden I bought a microphone. Then I bought soundproofing. Now I'm recording a podcast. Now I'm talking to a graphic designer. Now I'm talking to a musician. And now here I am, episode 5 of said podcast. It's stuff like that will keep you going. Once again, check out today's donation, feedingcolorado.org. We'll put it in the bio. It's going to be right there for you guys to see. Check it out. Support it. Support the homeless, please, by all means. Support each other. We're all humans here. This earth is not as big as we make it out to be truth be told. As Lawrence mentioned, please check him out on his website. Please check him out on Instagram. Hit him up if you want him to do some graphic design. It was so easy. I literally just messaged him, and next thing you know, 2 weeks after, I have the art. And I truly want to say thank you again for the art, man, because I know you put in so much time and effort into it, and it paid off, in my opinion. It really looks awesome.
I appreciate that.
And yeah, folks, we'll be back next Friday. As always, check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, SoundCloud. Follow us on the gram. Follow us on Twitter. Hit us up. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to do on the show. We actually been getting requests for people to be on the show, so maybe that's the thing. Let us know. Let us know you're Uncommon Gems. Let us know what's going on. And yeah, definitely take care, folks. Live in those failures. Damn it. Live in those failures. Lawrence, any last word for the people?
Nah, much love. Thank you for having me on.
Right on. Thank you all so much, and have a great rest of the time. Have a great rest of the day is what I meant to say. Peace out, everybody.